3 wins out of 3, including a stoppage of Paul Allison, Belfast last time out. Right, Eubank against Harry Matthews from Pocklington near York, a man they call the Pocklington Rocket. Matthews knows his way around the ring. He's won 12 of his 18 pro fights. Let's see it from the off.
Impressive stoppage of Paul Allison 4 weeks ago, but he must keep building, and he must do so here against Harry Matthews, who has promised to come and fight and has this crowd behind him. Different kind of test here for Chris Eubank Jr. tonight, Al.
Yeah, it is. You know, he's facing an experienced fighter who has been 10 rounds twice, so that doesn't help him in the 6th-rounder. But Matthews 2-4-1 in his last 7 fights, but he started out his pro career 9-0, and he sees this as an instant opportunity to get back in the mix.
Yeah, he did start well in his pro career, Harry Matthews. He said that work, making a living, got in the way of his boxing, and that's why the record looks a little bit tarnished, but he's certainly a test here for Chris Eubank Jr., who is a long way from anything near the finished article. There have been some critics suggest he's a bit open and misses a bit too much, but he's learning.
Well, he's only got 26 amateur fights and now 3 as a pro, and he makes the point, and he told us, you know, I know that I have to walk before I run, and he's not the most experienced fighter on the planet, so, but he's fighting, as we've mentioned, good fighters early in his career.
He wants to be set tests because he wants to get better and quickly, and that in itself is eminently admirable. Straight right there from Eubank Jr. A little bit of blood to the nose of Chris Eubank Jr. early on here. Bit of success for Matthews.
Matthews has landed a couple of jabs and 1 or 2 overhand rights. If you've never seen Chris Eubank fight before, you know, he's too powerful to be called a boxer, but too artful to be called a puncher. He can do both, and which one will take precedent in his style, we'll see as he gets more experienced.
Well, every bit of success that Matthews is having is being cheered here, and that adds a little bit of pressure in itself to Chris Eubank Jr. Needs to work out a way to unlock this guy. Good left jab followed up by a right hand there from Eubank Jr. Looks to the body with a right and then a left, but was caught as he came in. And then a decent right hand from Eubank Jr. He does look to get on with it, doesn't he, which may one day prove his undoing.
He likes to be in action fights, and of course that's both good and good for the fans. It can be an issue for the fighter. Ronnie Davis, of course, his trainer-manager, the same person that trained his dad when he was a world champion.
Uppercut there from Eubank Jr.
Harry Matthews has to be kind of happy with this first round, even if he didn't win it, and it was close.
Yeah, he knows this is a test. Does Eubank? But that's what he wants, and words of wisdom, no doubt, from Ronnie Davis, but good work from Eubank Jr. in the opening round, Al.
That was the straight right hand, which he set up beautifully with the jab. He's a very good combination puncher. You see a double jab and then the straight right hand. And for Chris Eubank, when he does that and doesn't throw wide punches, he's something.
Miles too good for him. Don't come down to his level, mate. Just keep your boxing beautiful. You keep that up. Love this jab. Make him miss, make him play. Put on a class at your time, mate. You're looking brilliant.
Right then, get the mums up and block him.
So round 2 here of the scheduled 6. Chris Eubank Jr. certainly taking the opening round, but caused a problem or two by the Pocklington Rocket, Harry Matthews.
interesting historical kind of liaison to the to Chris Eubank's dad. Nick Manners, the trainer of Harry Matthews, sparred with Joe Calzaghe. He was a junior middleweight or super middleweight fighter who lost to Joe Calzaghe, but then sparred with Calzaghe when Calzaghe beat Chris Eubank's dad for the WBO title. And now he's in the corner of Harry Matthews. If Matthews stays on the outside like this, he's going to have a big problem. The hand speed and the combination punching of Eubank Jr. will be a problem for him. He's got to make it a messy fight.
Yeah, if he lets Eubank be slick, then it's only going to end one way. Left jab there from Eubank Jr. He's a very, very stylish young man in many, many different ways. Chris Eubank Jr., very impressive.
He really is. You know, talking to him yesterday at the weigh-in, he's articulate. He looks you right in the eye, gives you solid answers to every question you ask, and you have to be impressed with that. There's Harry Matthews, though, landing some nice shots.
None of that class out of the ring matters right now. It's all about class in the ring, and Harry Matthews is tested. Eubank Jr.
You don't often, in your fourth professional fight, face somebody that has 23 pro fights, 12 knockouts and 18 wins, and is a solid guy. Granted, Matthews has had some issues lately, but this is a good fighter for Chris Eubank Jr. to fight.
And Harry Matthews works as personal trainer, but also as a landscape builder, and what he's trying to do is ruin the landscape of Chris Eubank Jr.'s career in its early stages here. Good work there from Eubank Jr. Almost boxing a little on the back foot at the moment, Chris Eubank Jr. Matthews is so aggressive.
Nice right hand by Harry Matthews a moment ago. He's gotten his share of shots in.
Left hook there from Matthews. Just backed Eubank up momentarily. Well, we can admire him all we like for not ducking fights and having a tough start, but it leads to nights like this. Difficult old time for Eubank Jr.
Give me the towel, Maximo.
Backhand into him. Every time you throw that jab, backhand. Listen,
Harry Matthews was able to get that right hand in. It didn't land perfectly, but it's one of several that he landed. And that's the body work and the uppercut by Eubank Jr. He's a very good fighter on the inside.
Well, there's Dad. Keeping quiet so far, watching, enjoying.
Pushing back, you want some more water?
Doubtless
Right, so got it.
spotting a million different things that he will pass on, but will do so in his own time and in his son's time, which really is how it should be. So questions posed by Matthews. Answers to come from Eubank Jr. Left jab there from Eubank Jr. as Matthews starts round 3 as the aggressor again. Opened him up with that left hand.
Now there's some
just for a moment there.
Sorry, Dave. There's some of those wide punches from Chris Eubank Jr. That is as early in his career, that's the thing that people have looked at and said he needs to work on a bit. Harry Matthews, not the kind of guy you're going to get out of there very easily. He's tough. We mentioned he's been 10 rounds twice already in his career. 3 times he's tried for the British Masters title, failed to win it. So this is his fast track, he hopes, to back to contention for some kind of British title.
Looked like it might have been a low blow that Matthews suspected there, but Eubank followed it up. Howard Foster is one of the best around and just tells them both to keep their punches up.
Harry Matthews is certainly not a textbook fighter. He delivers his punches in a kind of a ponderous way, but they get there. The jab for Chris Eubank Jr. has kind of gone in mothballs now. He's looking to load up on power punches, and that's not really the best posture for him at this juncture.
Yeah, that little bit of success he had earlier on in this round has almost gone to his head, but needs to get back behind the jab. Wild right hook there from Matthews.
Well, that replay we saw at the end of round, I believe it was round 1, where we saw the jab, two jabs in a straight right hand. We haven't seen that repeated by Eubank Jr. a lot. This is a close round.
Yeah, another close round. Eubank winning the opener, and then good straight right there by Eubank.
And it followed the jab. This round is up for grabs, and somebody can take it with a rally here in this last minute.
Matthews and his corner will be relatively happy with the way this is going so far. Certainly not out of this. Al mentioned he's durable, he hasn't been stopped. And he looks like he takes some stopping here. Ten seconds to go, and another pretty tight round here.
Right, step back. One step back. Listen to me. One step back.
Well, we can hear now from Chris Eubank Sr., who's with our man Joe Tidy.
Chris, is it going your way, do you think?
I beg your pardon?
Is it going your way, do you think?
Well, he seems to be taking it easy, it seems to me. He's relaxed, he's calm, he's actually, it looks like he's feeling out the terrain, and I think it's going well for him.
Would you say this is the toughest opponent yet?
Well, we're yet to see. It's the third round now, and who knows, he may be a lot tougher than we think, but he looks the real deal. He's very strong. But Christopher just seems to have actually dropped into kind of like a learning mode. It looks to me like he's feeling him out, so let's see what happens.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Seconds out. Round 4.
Sounds ominous. Let's see what happens.
I think Chris Eubank could be running for office. That was good. He managed to avoid those questions.
Oh, don't write that off. You can see that one. That's better from Eubank Jr. Little right hook, then a left to the body. Almost seems to have upped the tempo at the start of this fourth round.
It was almost as if he heard that interview with his dad and said, you know what, I think I better get more aggressive here. And that is exactly what he's doing. I'm sure Ronnie Davis suggested that to him.
But you know the brilliant thing about that little exchange? His dad said it, but Chris Eubank Jr. worked it out for himself with Ronnie Davis. And I think that's brilliant. And he has been impressive at the start of this fourth round.
And I think the key is that jab for Chris Eubank Jr. That's how you're going to beat a fighter like Matthews. Matthews has a good short chopping right hand. He just landed it there. And the body work by Matthews also very good. And remember, Matthews is pretty much a 10-round fighter now. Well, this is a 6-round fight. So for him, he needs to get a lot more done and get it done quickly.
A little bit of a throwback, isn't he? Harry Matthews, tough Yorkshireman.
Nick Manners, his trainer at the weigh-in, said, I told him, a lot of fighters would like to be in your position right now. You need to get in and take advantage of this opportunity to turn things around in your career. He's trying.
He's trying, and he's making a pretty good fist of it so far. You'd feel that Matthews would have to win rounds convincingly to have any chance of causing the upset.
And part of that is because Chris Eubank Jr., when he punches, he throws these dazzling combinations like that good straight left hand, but a nice jab by Matthews. It's a fun fight to watch. It's a competitive fight.
Yeah, it was a good response. The slip there Howard Foster straight away said it was no knockdown, and that looked the right decision. But every time Eubank Jr. has success, Matthews finds a response. Might not be the most cultured, but still a response, and still a reminder that he's there. Good right to the body from Eubank Jr. Again, he just ups the tempo towards the end of the round.
Eubank Jr. is probably winning this round, but there are moments when Harry Matthews lands one of those right hands and you think if that had landed a little more perfectly, could be a problem for Eubank Jr.
10 seconds to go in round 4. Looks like Eubank Jr., the winner of this round, on the front foot, the aggressor. Some quality work as well from him, but Matthews still very much there.
If you start working on jabs and unload.
Early in the round, Chris Eubank with the jab that sets up what? The right hand. When he does that, he is very effective. Now instead, here he starts with the left hook, and they trade punches, but his left hook very effective. But you see the overhand right by Harry Matthews. That's the wild card in this fight. Can he land one that will change things?
Give that jab up, son. Push him back. Right hand through the middle. Don't let him come. Don't let him start messing your belt.
There's people out there fucking thinking. You've got fucking 10 minutes and it's either done or fucking dusted, mate. So go find your career. Okay? Go find your career. All right? And go make your career.
Interesting little fight, this. Not the usual early start that some fighters have. Real tests for Chris Eubank Jr. And they get tougher by the fight. Jason Ball, followed by Paul Allison, and now Harry Matthews, who is sticking around. Maybe not quite giving as good as he gets, but not far off.
Well, and the jab of Matthews now emerging, and boy, if he could get that punch going, he might be able to get himself back into this fight to some degree. It's been an action fight right now.
Sharp shots though from Eubank Jr. now. That was almost his best little flurry of the fight. Again, he just looks to up the tempo.
I'm not sure Chris Eubank Jr. can be in a boring fight. And, you know, that speaks volumes about him as a potential star and as a draw and all the rest of it. And he's in a division, 168 pounds, that is a hot division in boxing. Of course, he's a long way from contention, but he's fun to watch.
I don't think it's the night for any of the antics. I think it's the night to get the job done and put the work in. That's better, back behind the jab, but again Matthews looking for that overhand right.
When they look back at this tape, I believe that Ronnie Davis and Chris Eubank Jr., as they look at this, will believe that the jab was very underused in this fight. And of course, Ronnie Davis told him to use that jab before the last round.
Well, you've already made the point that he needs to work out what he is. Is he a stylist or is he a power puncher? And he seems just a little caught between the two here.
Yeah, and you can be a boxer puncher, but it has to be in your DNA, and you have to be very disciplined in the way you do it. Some of those punches wide, and does he have the power to be a power puncher? That's a good question.
Looked and sounded powerful. But it wasn't on the chin of Matthews. It wasn't particularly well directed.
Exactly, and it was a little bit of a slapping right hand, and that's what he does sometimes. And you know, we're nitpicking with Chris Eubank Jr. He's certainly winning this fight and performing well, but he's the kind of fighter, because of his pedigree and how he's been moved already and had all this attention, that he will be scrutinized more closely, and he understands that.
Hey, there's plenty of fighters who've gone a long way being accused of slapping.
That's for sure. And not all his punches are that way, certainly, just on occasion. He's thrown some nice power punches in this round.
Yeah, this is better from Eubank Jr. now, looking to follow in with the left uppercut there. Good round in the end for Eubank Jr. Let's hear now from the star of Channel 5 boxing, Tyson Fury's with Joe Tidy.
Tyson, what do you make of this so far then?
I think it's a great learning fight for Chris Eubank Jr. I think he's a very bright star, very big talent, and I think a lot of things come from him in the future.
There's a lot of build-up, isn't there, about Chris Eubank Jr.? What do you make of the future ahead of him?
I can only judge what I've seen so far. I've seen all these pro fights and he hasn't made any mistakes, so all I can see is big things for him in the future. He's very, very talented.
And your career's moved on quite a bit, hasn't it? So what advice would you give him?
Just knuckle down, take the good with the bad and get on with it.
Great, thanks Tyson, thanks.
And this is mostly good right here for Chris Eubank. Landing the good right hands, again, not as straight as they'd like, but fighting very well.
Come on, Junior. Seconds out. 6 and the final round.
Our reporter there, staring up at the granite chin of Tyson Fury. I think it was Joe Tiny, not Joe Tidy. Final round. And Eubank Jr. just looking to impress and maybe turn on the style.
You know, Chris Eubank getting all this exposure on Channel 5. He said, it dawned on me when I was at the Thorpe Park, the Thorpe theme park, and all these 13-year-old girls came up to me and they knew who I was. And this is not the normal boxing fan. They wanted, autographs. And so he understands that he's becoming a bit of a star. Oh my, he's whacking Harry Matthews in this round.
Yeah, that was a good left to the chin there of Harry Matthews, who is granite, isn't he? Real tough local boy. But that's what makes him such an interesting test, and learned plenty about Chris Eubank Jr. That can he provide the big finisher? Because that's what he's looking for.
And there's the technique issue, though, for Matthews. He opens himself up and throws those right hands. Right there, squares himself up. He's got to not do that. Matthews still trying to get the right hand in, but Eubank Jr.'s hand speed a little too much for him.
Yeah, a couple of really good left hands there from Eubank Jr. If he lands too many more of these, I think Howard Foster will have a look. Right hand there from Eubank Jr. Matthews has been tough and deserves to stay in there, though. And Howard Foster well aware, but Eubank Jr., who can't be in a dull fight, looking for the finish here.
Tough Harry Matthews, and if Matthews had more technique to throw some of those rights and lefts, he landed a few, he would have given Eubank Jr. a little problem there.
Straight left there from Eubank Jr. and again he opens up. A lot of the criticisms of him will still be there after this fight, but you have to credit him and his team
absolutely
for taking fights like this early on, whatever you say about him.
And he wants to win, he wants to entertain. He's standing there and he is brawling with this more experienced fighter. And even if there are a few technique issues, the bottom line is he wants to win and win impressively. And I think, right now, Eubank Jr. punched himself out just a little bit, but I don't know if Matthews has it in him to come back.
Well, more lessons learned, and too many more. Nights like this, awkward though it's been, and plenty more people will be asking for Chris Eubank Jr.'s autograph. Well, the crowd rising to the efforts of the Pocklington Rocket and to those of Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. has surely done enough to win here. Yes, he has, according to Howard Foster. But again, another step on this pretty steep learning curve, Al Bernstein.
That was a fascinating fight. There were moments where this young man, Chris Eubank Jr., looked very precise, and his dad, the man who defended his title 14 times in the very same weight division, happy with that win. But there were moments in that fight where Chris Eubank Jr. had some technique issues that show you that he's still an inexperienced fighter, but he is so much fun to watch, and you have to love his future.
4 out of 4 for Chris Eubank Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 absorbing rounds of middleweight action, star referee Mr. Howard Foster has scored the contest for Matthews 54 points, for Eubank 60 points. Your winner, now undefeated in 4 professional contests, from Brighton, Chris Eubank Jr. The appreciation, please. A very game, Harry Matthews.
So another win for Chris Eubank Jr. Let's hear from him and his dad now with Joe Tidy.
Chris, we heard our commentary team there, Al and Dave, saying that it's impossible for you to be in a dull fight. That was a tough one, wasn't it?
It was a great learning experience. I knew I had the guy under control past the third round, and I kind of used it as a learning experience. You know, I've got to get these rounds in underneath my belt, so I worked on defence, foot movement, and it was a great experience for me.
And you picked up the tempo in the sort of later rounds, didn't you? Did you expect the fight to go the full distance?
I knew I could have stopped him probably from the third round on, but again, like I said, I wanted to get these rounds underneath my belt. You know, you don't learn anything from going in and just throwing wild punches and getting these guys out in the first and second round. So you know, I used it as a learning curve, and you know, moving onwards and upwards.
Chris, we noticed that you sort of sat back a little bit and were sort of less vocal. Was that a deliberate thing from you tonight?
Well, I really don't need to say much. He, you know, his fists and his movements and his caliber does the talking. So, really, it doesn't make sense you even speak to me. Let's just watch and enjoy the ride.
Any learning points from tonight?
Action speaks louder than words.
Yes, indeed. Learning experiences. I like the fact that he actually took his time at one point. I think it was second, third round. Just stood back and looked and kind of felt his way around the ring, and I could see that he was soaking up the experience of actually working with a fighter of the caliber that this man had, which was a very high caliber in terms of his strength. This was a very solid man. So, no, I'm again. What can I say? It's
another great night. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Well, the words learning curve, learning experience coming out of there, Al.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you have to acknowledge with Chris Eubank Jr. is the fact that at this early stage in his career, only 4 fights into his career and only 26 amateur fights, he is fighting a tough brand of fighter. This is a guy that's had gone 10 rounds twice. He had a number of fights, and I think that they have to be commended for taking these tough fights. And I mentioned some of the technique issues. These are things that he's going to work on as he moves ahead.
Okay, and as you look at it round by round as the fight developed, what were you thinking about the way that Chris Eubank maybe is learning and getting better?
Yeah, this fight in microcosm, I think, as we look at it, you see the fact that he's got his power punches on track, and for the most part during the course of this fight, and you see Matthews landing occasional right hand, which he was able to get in. The power punching of Eubank Jr. was there all night. What wasn't there all during the fight was the jab and the straight right hand, which he did land from time to time. There were those moments when Matthews was able to get in some overhand rights and some hooks. This is the brawling that we talked about with Chris Eubank. He wants to get in there and punch and create exciting and interesting fights, and he's looking for knockouts. As he progresses, I think he's going to become more of a boxer-puncher, but he is certainly exciting to watch.
Yeah, are you happy with this progress? You think it's going along at the right pace, as it were? Because sometimes, you know, boxers do want to go too quickly too soon.
I think it is going along at a good pace, but they have to be a little careful at this juncture, I think, because Chris Eubank Jr. is facing live bodies in the ring. He's facing tough young men. Everybody that fights him lands those occasional overhand rights when he squares himself up and he decides to throw those power punches, giving them room to do that. They're going to have to be careful. They're either going to have to get his technique a little better or even dial back the opponent a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much for now. Al, been a terrific night of boxing here.